Your Majesty Q.
I'm just
should sit. He's seated already.
And I'm more powerful than you.
Now, you guys are both involved in one of my favorite, I think, a fan favorite episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. That's a good place to start. We have a Q&A microphone set up here. If you got questions, go ahead and start lining up. Like I said, I'm not going to eat up all the time. When you got the call, as it were, to come and guest on this show and twist John a little bit toward the end of it, I mean, what was the phone call?
But it was, do you like Star Trek? Are you a fan of Star Trek? Yes, I am. My question was, do I have to wear one of those tight suits? Because, you're in LA Law, and I had to wear like nice suits, but you could hide some stuff. These things were, you can't hide anything. And I was really, on my way over there, I was scared, thinking, just don't let it be too tight. Don't let it be too tight. I didn't want to look like a guy in Spanx.
For me, my agent called and said, you have an audition tomorrow for Star Trek. And I said, I thought they already did Star Trek. She says, well, they're doing it again. And then she said, it's sort of a typo, it's just the letter Q. And it's at 4 o'clock. And I said, I'm in the middle of a show. I was doing a show at the Taper. And I didn't show up.
That's when we get those jobs.
That's right. I didn't show up, and about a week later, she said, you didn't show up? And I said, no. She said, well, there's a producer who keeps calling for you. And I ended up, they worked it out so I could do it on my lunch hour. I went there, knocked off the audition, and on my way out, a guy walked out with me, and he was bigger than I am, and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, you make my words sound better than they are. And I said, well, you must be the writer. And he said, I'm Gene Roddenberry. And I had no idea who that was. But I needed to get back to my rehearsal. And I'm making it out of a trailer, and another guy came up and he said, I'm the producer who's been calling for you, and this is a payback. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, about 4 or 5 years ago, I was flat on my back in the hospital with a quadruple bypass operation, and you made me laugh when I thought I was going to die. And he was talking about a soap opera I did. And he said, I thought that if I had a chance, I would give you a shot, and they're going to hire you. And that's how I got it.
John, a lot of us have a very soft spot in our hearts for you as the guy who kept popping back up on Star Trek: The Next Generation, our little surprise once a season, and bookending the show even. And what was the process like for you? Did you know that you were coming back each time there was a new season of the show, or was it kind of a waiting for the call?
No, I did not know I was coming back. At the end of about 3 days into shooting, I guess what I was doing for those 3 days they liked, and Gene came up to me and he said, we're going to have you come back. And I said, okay. And then he said to me, I don't know, a couple of weeks in, he said, I think we're going to have you come back 6 or 7 times a year. I said, okay. And then they did have me come back a couple of months later, or a month or so later, and he said, I'm not going to have you come back 6 or 7 times a year, because you're a little bit like the character of Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet. And that really touched me, because I had played in Romeo and Juliet, Romeo, and there is nothing more like annoying than playing Romeo with Mercutio there, because Mercutio is the one who's always fun and he's carrying on, and the audience loves him, and Romeo's kind of like, Mr. Sappy, and I love her, and stuff like that. And then Mercutio dies, and you have to carry the show. And so he said, I really can't have you come back. And I said, I understand. I understand. I understand. It's a too flamboyant a character to be just showing up all the time.
Is that why they had me there only once?
That's right.
I mean, when you have that much...
Corbin, you're just getting one of these.
Corbin, I mentioned to you earlier that I had a question about, I think, one of your signature roles. You have popped up on a bunch of TV shows as your signature character, Corbin Bernsen, on the Larry Sanders Show, on Seinfeld, on Matlock.
Right.
What is it like getting a phone call saying, "Hey, we want you to guest on the show as yourself"?
Yeah, you know,
3 times.
Truthfully, I think we were talking about this a little bit. It's really confusing because I don't know who I am. What is it that who I am they think they want to get? You know, and it's strange to play yourself. It's because it's not really you. I always somebody actually once came to me and said, "You want to do one of these shows?" What was the show that was? It was kind of about the people as themselves, but it's not a reality show. It's fiction. It's kind of like Larry Sanders is. And I don't know who I am. I'll tell you something. When I go do talk shows, for instance, and this happened last week, we did an LA Law reunion on The Talk, and we talked about anxiety before. I had huge anxiety. Do I wear a suit? Do I wear the way I usually wear? Do I wear my hat? And I had all this stuff in the car if I wanted to change myself at the last second. The first thing I ever did on LA Law is I was invited to do The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Great honor. I'd seen Johnny Carson. But I was on a Fox show, so they put me on Joan Rivers instead, who was at war with Johnny Carson. I went on Joan Rivers and I wore a suit. And in the middle of the thing, I said, I'm really uncomfortable. I'm wearing the suit. I'm not me. Yeah, that's just me trying to figure out who I am on a talk show. And I said, she goes, would you like to come back tomorrow night? I said, that'd be great. Put on jeans and all that. I was still uncomfortable. I didn't know who I was supposed to be. I think when you're supposed to be you, it's confusing. I don't know.
I mean, you get lost in the expectations of, are people expecting Arnie to show up? Are they expecting...
No, I truly don't know who I am.
Yeah.
It's true. We talked about this today, and you said that
I go into my characters because I am not comfortable in this world. I don't want to get too heavy philosophical about it.
This is the heavy philosophical crowd.
Between my expectations of the world and the excitement and the glory and the mountains and the seas and the everything to see, and the disappointment of what I often see, what's going on in our country and around the world, I'm not really content. I'm not a content person. I'm not unhappy. I have a beautiful wife and 4 kids, and I have some happiness in there, but I'm not really content. I'm young and restless.
We'll be the judge of that.
And what I said is I love acting because I go into a world where I get to play a character who's not tethered to this world, so there's none of those expectations. I just get to play the emotions of that character, and he can be relieved of the duties of this life. And so I waver. I mean, I know one thing, I don't like to wear suits anymore.
And what I said is that, I said this very interesting because we all, every once in a while, talk about the technique of acting and what have you. So Corbin is talking about playing a character which relieves him of the anxieties that he carries with him on a regular, we all carry with us on a regular day. And I said, oh, that's really interesting because I never think of the things which I play as characters. I always think of them as being me. So I don't actually, it just adds to my anxiety. I'm not relieved of anxiety by playing somebody different. I'm just find someplace
twice as much
in myself that is like that character, and I'm just sort of pulling out more of that of myself. So I never walk out less anxious.
Yeah, you're absorbing multiple existences, multiple lives into one person. You have more than one life to live. Oh, we're making soap opera content. Yeah, see, look, I had to kill the.
Well, generally, if you're not in the hospital, yes.
Now, you both have guest starred on a bunch of different shows. I have more than a laundry list of those sorts of things that I could talk about, but one thing that you both have in common is you both guest starred on The West Wing, and you mentioned, you know, things that are going on in the world and the condition of the world. Some West Wing fans, good, yeah. What, you know, how was the set of The West Wing different than other sets that you would drop in on as a guest star?
Well, for me it was rough. Aaron Sorkin, you know, is notorious about the, you know, every comma, colon, semicolon. I mean, and you think to yourself, yeah, kind of. I mean, I've done theater. I know you want to honor the playwrights' words, but it's strict. And I remember we were shooting one of my episodes in Washington, D.C., and I think I put a comma in somewhere. There was no comma, and it was very. They came up to me and said, "No, it has to be as written." I said all the words. I said, "The senators are meeting this afternoon," and they said, "But there's no. The senators are meeting this afternoon, comma. It's just continue with the sentence." And I got really freaked out. I was like, all of a sudden, all I did was hear the words in my head.
Yeah, it throws you back into your head. There are a lot of shows. L.A. Law. People used to ask, or I mean, I had some people who asked me once, is there some sort of connection between L.A. Law and Star Trek? I mean, are they the same producers? Are they the same company? And I said, no, the connection is that the material is word heavy.
Right.
And you need to get actors who are capable of handling that type of dialogue. I mean, some actors who are wonderful actors are really not wordsmiths, and they do something else, which is I worked with Jeff Bridges, who I have tremendous respect for, and he is a reactor.
Right.
That is his forte. And my training was to be, it's always being spit out, like that, like that. So for me, it's all in the words. When I worked with Aaron Sorkin, I finished, my close-up, and Brad Whitford said to me, he said, "You're going to be back." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "You're just going to be back," which is to say, he was recognizing when an actor came on that handles the material, and off you go. And I agree with you. For somebody like myself who has a difficult time learning lines, I'm very dyslexic, blah, 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 it throws you into your head if somebody says, "Oh, well, there should have been a pause," or not a pause, you put a comma in there, or you said "was not," and it wasn't, and you're like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me, man." I mean, it was a speech this long, and we're having to do it again because of that, and it makes you then start listening to yourself, and the place that you don't want to be in when you're acting is in your head. You don't want to be in your head. You are focusing onto that other person, and you're trying to get something, what you want onto that other person, not listening to yourself.
But when you have a guy like Aaron, or playwrights, because it's notorious in plays that the author wants his or her words. That's what they want.
As written.
As written. And I think it's even, not illegal, I don't know the word, but I think you're meant to, when you do a play that is with the playwrights, the Dramatists Guild or whatever, you can't change a word without written consent.
Right.
So, but there is an advantage to that, and I find is if you can press through the anxiety of being word perfect, and if you're in the theater, having come from the theater, at any part of theater, you generally can get to it. It does force you, because I know when I write very specific. And you're just trying to write and Aaron is great at this, he's just writing the character, and he knows his characters. And it does force you sometimes, it helps you if you can just squeeze yourself into that box of really getting out of yourself, because I may want to say wasn't, but he wants you to say was not.
Yeah, and also another thing, he didn't say this to me, but I've heard him talk about this, is that he acts the characters.
Oh, yeah.
When he writes them, he's acting them. So he has already, there are a lot of writers who who do not do that. That's what makes his material, you can tell good material when it's, for, again, somebody like myself where learning lines is a little tough, that you can absorb it quickly because the rhythms are right. That it's already, a lot of writers don't read their material, they don't say it out loud, and so they don't understand that there are natural rhythms involved and what have you. So, but he does, and so, you know, and also he's a great writer.
Well, not to turn this into a huge thespian talk, but I do find if you have a monologue that's well written, you can remember it, and I remember it in, maybe a little quicker, but I get to it quickly because it has been thought out. Something logically follows. It's got a rhythm to it, like you said.
Right. It feels more natural.
I've had 2 lines that I can't remember because who talks like this?
Yeah. One of the things in Shakespeare, which makes it easy to understand or to memorize, is that if you add in the thought process, if you add and then, almost invariably, his lines, if you add that, make sense that they go into the next section. Right. But you were really talking great writing at that point, yeah.
All right, we're getting a little
okay, all right.
Yeah, this is like the actor's studio here.
I know, you guys are loving this though, right? Yeah. This is what you come to the show for. I got one more for you, and then I'll stop being selfish, and we'll turn it over to the audience. Now, John, you voiced a lot of very well-known comic book characters that a lot of people here grew up, fans of. Corbin, you have gotten to play a wide variety of different characters. John, you as well, guest starring on shows. I wonder if there is a particular character or a particular occupation of a character, I don't know, maybe a lawyer, maybe a baseball player, that you particularly relished getting to play, that was either a unique challenge, that was maybe the type of part that you didn't get coming up as an actor, that was particularly satisfying in that respect. John, I don't know if you were a comic book fan growing up, but one of those VO roles has been particularly fun for you. I think you played Dr. Octopus, you played, a laundry list of comic book villains. But any of those that stick out to you?
No, I'll tell you why, and that is that, yes, I know for recently it's My Little Pony, but it's because you don't spend enough time with them. You get the material, I really prepare it because I have to really prepare it to keep my eyes following the line and what have you. And then I go in, it takes me an hour and a half, and then that's it. As opposed, so it isn't really something that sticks with me. I have a very enjoyable time with the people who are there. And I'm just kind of a regular actor compared to the voice actors who sometimes surround me in those rooms where this is what they do. So they have 10 different other characters. When the director comes in and they say, okay, Bob, is there to play whatever the character is. But Bob, you're also going to play this character, and this character. I'm like, oh my God, don't look at me, But they have those things ready to go, really ready to go, and there you're seeing people who are very skilled at it. For me, I just kind of do what I do.
I tend to like characters, and they've shown up in Arnie Becker, LA Law, Major League with Roger Dorn. Again, going back to something of me, but I think my bigger observation of people is I like playing characters who appear to have, not it all, but have it together, have the thing, have the suits, have the car, have the superpower. But like most of us, with Arnie Becker, I used to say, I think the reason I got that show, LA Law, for anybody who goes back that far, was I was told there were like 2,000 people that auditioned for Arnie Becker, and I got it, which was a great honor. And I said to Stephen Bochco one time, early on, I said, everybody thinks this guy's great. I think he's a poor son of a bitch. He's just miserable. And I know he's got the Porsche and the cars and the girls and the money and the fame, and he's a top lawyer. But when he closes his door, he's in misery. And I'm attracted to characters who, the veneer of them is this together, omnipotent, whatever it is, but when they go on, they realize they're just part of the larger pool of humanity. And in some cases don't even feel like they're a part of that. So I'm drawn to those characters that have the appearance, and that's why I love playing it. Some of the things I do, and I get hired a lot to do it, and I think it might be this, is the red herring in a movie of the week or something, because I want people to be misdirected to think that I'm the guy. I love playing the red herring. And I will take them right down the road all the way. I believe I'm actually the guy who murdered or did something, because I love doing that facade, but knowing there's another truth underneath it.
All right, let's go to audience questions. First in line, wearing the command colors.
Yes. Hi.
Kate Mulligan.
Make it so.
Kate Mulligan. Anyway, I'm so nervous right now. It's my first con, and oh my god.
Take a deep breath.
What's your name? What's your name? What's your
I'm
name?
Stephanie. Hi.
Stephanie, let's hear it for Stephanie, everybody.
I'm so excited.
I think that'll be...
You want to bring up the house lights?
Yeah, bring up the house lights.
If Q says bring up the house lights, can we bring up the house lights?
And I just go like this.
Yeah, no, right.
Neither of it works.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, real quick, John, oh my god. I think you're my favorite Star Trek villain ever. I love how spicy you are, and you're just like, I don't even care. It was so great, and such a treat every season. But Corbin, huge Psych fan. Despite the command colors, magnificent pineapple on every corner of my house, literally by my front door. Okay, so I love you as a father to James Roday's character, Sean Spencer.
Right.
And I was wondering if you drew from your own experiences as a father and your experiences with your father to kind of create the layers, like you were mentioning just a second ago, of that character.
Not from my father so much, but from all my children.
Hey, we're going to get them all out there.
My 4 sons. I have 4 sons, and when I went in and I first read this thing, I understood this guy. My kids were a little bit younger than Sean, but I knew the responsibilities. It's a strange time because, yes, my father was more of the older generation, and this is the way it's done, and you do this and you do that. It's a vastly different thing. And the thing with Sean is that Henry had to always figure out was, he's a cop. Well, at the end of the day, I wanted Sean to be a cop. Was he not a cop? He was, but in his own way. And that was the biggest lesson I had with all my children, is, can't do it twice, it's not good. But I had to learn that, and they've turned out to be incredible boys, that 4 sons, that they are doing the things that I would hope and want as a father, and I want them to be, but they're doing it their way. And I think that's new. I think our fathers, my father was, every time I'd get Emmy nominations, Golden Globe nominations, and his next thing would be, what else? More. And it was a little like, isn't this enough? And it was good because it presses you on, but this generation's a little bit different. It's you got to respect they're doing it their way. As long as they have love, mercy, compassion, forgiveness, kindness, I don't really care. And but I understood who Henry was because I was in the thick of it.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Thank you.
That was a great first time at con on the first question.
That was good.
Bravo. Yeah, is there anything that we can do about the lights? Anything?
That.
Is there anybody there?
No, probably not.
Go for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Dan, and thanks for making this one of the best days of our lives.
This is going very well.
And my question is for both of you. Can you talk a little bit about your favorite memories on LA Law or Psych, and for you, Eugene, on Days of Our Lives?
Oh, that's too bright. I very much enjoyed Days of Our Lives. It was, I had gone to drama school, and I think I got a little caught up in all of that. And so Days was an opportunity to sort of just blow it out. And because I was able to improvise a lot, far more than anybody wanted me to. As a matter of fact, I arrived one day at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm thumbing through the script to take a look at it. And Arlene Sorkin and our pages are blank. I went, well, what's the story here? They're blank. And they said, well, since you don't say anything that we write, we just... I think that they're being upset.
John, I have to ask, you said Arlene Sorkin?
Yeah.
The original voice of Harley Quinn, Arlene Sorkin.
Yeah. So I had a great time, but I also knew that I had to leave the show if I wanted to do anything else. It's a very easy, cushy life to get involved in.
My mother, 45 years.
Yeah. So I wrote down with my wife and I one day, sitting in a restaurant, we wrote down an amount of money that needed to be saved. And we were very good at saving. We talked about that, and we were very good at saving. And so I worked until I reached that amount, and then I left. And it paid for the next, until the next ship came in, as it were. So, but I very, very much enjoyed, and I enjoyed the people there, and we laughed and laughed and laughed. And I was very fortunate that the executive producer, Al Rabin, was this little guy from Chicago with a terrific sense of humor. And I came in and spoofed the show, which was my 5 days on that, those first 5 days on the show. I just spoofed everything. And they had never seen that. I took a look at the show the night before, or a couple of days before, and I went, they want a psychopath, which is what they hired me for, but what they need is a comedian. This show needs a comedian. It needs somebody who has a sense of humor. So I did it as a psychopath with a sense of humor. And he picked up on it. And so for 3 years, 3.5 years, he said to me, the only thing was, faster and funnier. That's all he said to me. So I had a great time.
I think you'd mentioned LA Law. I have to say that I have found myself loving every, nobody got that loving? Is that everything I've done. I want to go back to my start actually was Ryan's Hope.
What,
there's no way to work that into a
84, 85?
Yeah, but and it's funny you say that because I was around my mother for 45 years, and those people had fun. They talk about dialogue and learning dialogue, and then this is cue cards and every other format to kind of get your lines out. But I used to, I had auditioned for a role to play Mark Helgenberger's girlfriend, Siobhan, on Ryan's Hope, and I didn't get it. Another actor named David Cederholm, who I've never heard from again. I just have to throw that out there because he got the role. But they gave me a role of this character, Ken Graham, who was his best friend. And it was like anytime he was like, oh, Siobhan's not being nice to me, he would tell me, and I was sort of the sounding board. But it was a super, super boring job. And there was a wonderful actor, and he's gone now, unfortunately, named Earl Hindman. And he and I used to, one of my favorite things that we did on Ryan's Hope, and I've got to sometimes go back and look at footage to see it, because nobody ever caught it, is if you, any kind of party scene or crowd scene, or there were more than 5 or 6 people in a scene, the way these sets are built, there's 3 walls basically, and the open wall, the 4th wall has the cameras in it, kind of. And any kind of party scene where we were kind of extras, he and I would dash in and out doors, and what we'd do is, when the camera's pointed that way, you'd be over there, but we'd run out a door behind the set, and so by the time it came around on somebody else, we were on this side of the room. And we would count. You and I would like, what'd you get? 5. I challenged that. You did not get 5, Earl. I got 4. And we'd look at these things, and we were showing up in the background there and there. It was fun. We had some good times. Ryan's Hope. But LA Law was great. It was just, that was another whole, that was a trip to the moon.
Thank you.
William
Hi there.
Shatner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, make it so. I got them both, and that's actually a kind of a joint question. My name's Alan, and I've been watching Star Trek for a long time, many decades, and I'm more interested in this question even more after what you said, Mr. Delancey, about the voice acting, because I don't know how many people in this room know that you did a wonderful, wonderful work with Leonard Nimoy in Spock versus Q, which I highly recommend if you've never heard of it. And I've listened to it several times. And I'm just very interested in just anything you have to share on that experience, working with Mr. Nimoy, whose idea it was to create this. If I remember, the two of you were just opposite each other, and but it's not, it's set out as voice acting. Just anything you can share with that experience.
Well, Alien Voices, I was acting a lot for LA Theater Works, which was did a show called The Play's the Thing in Los Angeles, and it was producing on for NPR. And then as time went on, I began to direct a number of the shows. And Susan Lowenberg asked me, she said, is there a way we need to get more people. I said, science fiction. Well, I don't really like science fiction. I said, science fiction. Why don't we do a science fiction show? We did War of the Worlds, and then a friend of mine, Nat Sigaloff, and I wrote a sequel to War of the Worlds. And they had people around the block to come and see this thing. And Leonard was in it, and I think Brent and Gates, and I hired the people from Star Trek. And at the end of the show, at the end of the rehearsal period and doing the show for a week, I said, Leonard, did you have a good time? And he said, I had a great time. And I said, well, I have an idea. I would really like to do dramatizations of classic science fiction. And my idea is that I'll write the scripts with my friend Nat. Once we have a script, then we can do all sorts of other things with it. We'll start it as an audio script, but then that could be turned into movies and TVs and stuff like that. So he said, I'm on board. So that's how we created Alien Voices. And ultimately, we did shows for Simon & Schuster. We did shows for Sci-Fi Channel. We had a deal with New Line. And we worked for about 4 years, very, very intensely. But then, like everything else, the fun began to get out of it, because then the question is how many units did we sell for Simon & Schuster? And we realized, we can create the things, we can produce them, we can write them, we can act in them, we can blah, 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 blah. But we're not salesmen. And that isn't to diminish sales. It's just to say that's not actually what we do. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of effort from the company point of view to say, well, we want you to go out and start hawking these things. And that's when we went, you know what? The party's over.
Well, the two of you, the comedic talent the two of you have, just went together so well.
Yeah, and that last show that we did, which was the Spock versus Q, we did that in the sequel, was, that was sort of like the 800-pound gorilla in the room. In the end, of course, we did a Star Trek show.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Hello, for the treasure from Corbin. How was your work with the famous, the one and only?
Stand back from your mic just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes for the Major League.
Wesley Snipes in Major League. Well, Wesley's kind of a man unto himself. I don't mean to say anything bad about him. I don't want to say anything bad about anybody, but we're a group, and we really enjoyed that experience as a team. I mean, we were a team. We were the fake Indians. We were, and I always felt like Wesley just was outside of it a little bit, just to march into his own beat. And I mean, he's a good guy. Nothing wrong with him. But well, I guess he did go to jail. Not the tax evasion.
I was going to crack a, did you get any good tax tips from
Yeah,
Joe?
tax tips.
But, you know.
But, you know, I'm not going to have humor at somebody else's. That's just not. And he's a great guy, but one thing, I mean, he was super. He was the first guy that I knew on a movie set to like work out all the time. You know, he would just be lifting stuff and getting pumped in his arms, and it was really intimidating because he's in incredible shape. And you know, again, baseball uniforms in those days were tight little units, and you know, you had to. You know, you wanted to be in super good shape. I'll tell you a little funny thing about Major League is, you know, baseball players wear cups to protect themselves, right? And certainly a guy at third base, Roger Dorn, would do it because the ball can come down quite fast. I put the cup on, and you would think it would be the opposite, but it looked really big. And I thought, this looks silly. I mean, I know for a baseball player it's good and it's important, but on camera, it's going to look odd, and your eye's going to go to it, which has a certain appeal. But you know, on the other hand, I thought I just don't want to do it. And we had a batting, our tech advisor was a guy named Steve Yeager, who was a coach for the, not coach, a catcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And he would, any ball that came to me at third base, where I had to play third base, he would hit it as hard as he possibly could to ensure that I would never have children. And yeah, he didn't get me in the end. And but I don't know how I got off Wesley to that, but it's back to tight fit
So are you
clothing.
still wearing the cup now? Is that
No, but I probably should.
And can you sing the Wild Thing?
What's that?
Can you sing the Wild Thing?
Oh,
The Wild Thing. You know,
oh, you want me to sing it?
We don't have the backing music.
Yeah. Well, you guys can all sing. No, I'm not a singer. There's one thing I will not do. Did anybody see the Psych episode that was a musical? Yeah. Who did not sing in it? Yeah. There you go. I said to Steve Franks, I said, you know, man, I'm not really, this is the truth, and it's, you know, God has given me incredible gifts in my life. He did not, I cannot, this is the honest to God's truth, I cannot sing Happy Birthday. And, which is really hard at your kid's birthday when you go, hey, man, or if everybody's singing really loud, you're and people think you're singing. I cannot sing. And I told it to Steve Franks, I said, I really can't sing. I mean, he goes, you can sing something like Happy Birthday. I said, no, I can't. And when I got the script, I was not in the script. And I said, you're not even gonna put me in the script? He said, you can't sing. It's a musical. So I had, like 2 seconds in the musical. But you know, I did take on, only to find out that I did not got fired, but to chase this fear, after LA Law, had accepted the role in Sound of Music as Captain Von Trapp, because Edelweiss, I figured I can talk out Edelweiss, which is the only song he really has to sing. And then the show got pulled, thank God, because I did pictures in the Lederhosen, and I thought, this is me not singing on tour, doing Sound of Music in Lederhosen, this will just kill my career. So you never got to see that.
I think we'll be able to get through everybody in line. We've got a little bit of buffer time between us and the cosplay contest, so let's make sure we get through everybody.
Hi, my name's Spacey. I'm actually here for my wife. She couldn't be here. She's a big Psych fan. Actually, she freaked out last night when she saw you, Corbin. We had the whole golden carrot conversation. And
I painted a golden carrot on my table.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sitting there. It's autographed, actually. So when I'm gone.
But her question every time that she loves to ask is, because she's an aspiring director, is what's the best direction that you've gotten, or some experience with a director that you have that you'd like to share?
The best, and I'll keep it short because there is a line, the guy who directed LA Law, there was a huge opportunity back when there were only 20 shows on TV, if you can believe that. And a wonderful director named Greg Hoblet, who directed the pilot. We were all nervous. I was super nervous because I knew it was big. And he said one thing to me, and it's more than direction about acting. He said, always make it about the work. And I have, to this day, I've had a lot of fun. I enjoy the fame, I enjoy the money, the stuff, getting up here, I enjoy all of it. And I think we were talking about it before. I just love the work. I love acting, I love the work of acting, I love that process. So always make it about the work first and all the other stuff will follow.
And John, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, that one guy gave me faster and funnier.
Right. Really good directors, at least the ones in which I've worked with, tend to be very open to what you bring, as long as what you're bringing has to do with, with what the project is about. I did a movie with Peter Weir. I had a couple of ideas. He said, show me. I did it. They're in the movie. We had a problem with a drip. It was a shot that was taking place in the kitchen. There was some dripping, and they have 100 people to take care of that drip because it was on the sound. And then when we broke the scene, he said, I want to take that drip, film that now. They're looking and collecting, you're looking and producing and giving ideas and what have you. And the best ones are the ones that are, everybody's open to that. The worst ones are, of course, the ones that are all like that. And you kind of go, oh my God, here we go.
Yeah, I had a woman once, if you didn't, mark is where we have to sort of hit for the lighting, for the focus and all that. If we did not, I'd walk up and I'd do this, and she'd say, stop, Corbin, look down. And I would do that, but she would stop, cut camera, and she would intimidate everybody if they didn't hit their mark. And I think you're right, collaboration, people who are willing to collaborate and forgive 6 inches.
Right.
Thank you.
I can make a joke about that, but I don't want
Corbin, I think you already did. I think you already did.
Hi guys, I just wanted to say, Corbin, John, you're both amazing people who have been following your work for years. I just wanted to say thank you for being so great. Additionally to that, I have a couple questions, one question. John, what in Q, right, in playing Q for all those years, what was your favorite moment as the character?
Oh, I you know what, I'm terrible with favorite. Just sort of sometimes in those, in shooting those 9 episodes, I would get a director who was willing to be a little more experimental, as it were, or a little more pushing the envelope, and those were when it was more fun. Okay. Because, everybody came loaded for bear. Everybody came to work. But it's really nice, this is piggybacking off this last question, when you're working with people who are not intimidated with more information. So, and some of those episodes were a little more, were a little better because of that.
Cool. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
So hi, I'm John Lancie. Me and my family are both big MLP fans and Star Trek fans, and I mainly found you out by the role of Discord, and I'm also a big fan of your role as Q, but I've actually been wondering, you actually said that you take a part of yourself and connect it with the character, but I've been wondering, which character which character that you have acted as or played as which did you find it was easier to connect with, or which was one of your favorite characters to play as?
You would say between Q and Discord?
Out of the roles that you played, John Delancey, which of the roles have...
Out of all the roles I've played.
Well, mainly Q and Discord. Which one would you play? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Q or Discord, which is easier to slip into for you?
Oh, you know what? They're both easy to slip into, but I'm not playing Q when I play Discord. As a matter of fact, I didn't even think about the character of Q. It isn't like, whatever. The last time I played Q was, who knows, 20 years ago or so at least. It isn't like I'm going around trying to play that character again. It's not about whether it's easy or not. It's just that the material always has a rhythm. There's a rhythm to the material, especially if it's good material. And you try to understand what that rhythm is, and what it's saying, and blah 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 blah, and then you come out with something that you feel seems to take that and mold it into something different. So let's just take the character of Discord. I wasn't thinking of Q. If anything, I was thinking of Oscar Wilde. If anything, I was thinking of myself in sort of an Oscar Wilde, sort of very flamboyant, very, bisexual, bi-special, bi-everything sort of way. So that's sort of how I came up with that character.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Mr. Lancie, Mr. Bernsen, amazing actors, amazing careers. I've thoroughly enjoyed everything you've ever done. So, for both of you, looking back on your careers, any roles, any projects that you either regret or perhaps wish you would have done differently?
Both of you leaping at the opportunity to talk about regrets.
Long ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Long ago, I don't know if it was a conscious choice, and I don't know if I have adhered to this 1,000%. I don't have regrets. And I don't, on a bigger thing that I've learned lately in my life, I don't think there are mistakes. I think there's purpose to all things. And I don't. Sure, I could say, if I had done this or taken that. There's a role, right after I got LA Law, I was offered a role in Joel Schumacher, who had just done Lost Boys, a very cool little movie called Cousins, which was a remake of a French film called Cousin, Cousine. And that Catherine Deneuve was in, and I really wanted to be in this film. And instead, studios and people called up and said, no, you have to be in this movie with Shelley Long called Hello Again. I don't regret it. It was good. It was a big Disney movie, and it was wonderful. But I decided I don't know. I'm going to do what I do. The path is my path, and I just enjoy it. I don't. When you live your life without regrets and forgiveness, there's just such a release in all things. And I kind of do that. You make a fool of yourself 90% of the time. I probably have here, but I'm okay with that. I'm kind of okay with that. I am what I am. If I'm to die and be known as the court jester, well, at least I'm the court jester. And so I don't really have regrets. I don't. There's other things I wish I'd been, maybe, but that's envy, and I try to stay away from that too.
Yeah.
Collaboration at work.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I don't really organize my life in terms of my the roles I played or didn't play or what have you. I don't know. It's just something that I do. And I do a number of other things as well.
Can I ask you that? I mean, you and I talk a lot about this. So, people say, oh, they've built their careers and they've done this and organized. I'm not sure people really do it. I still think that's a bunch of BS. I think they've got that role and got lucky, and Tom Cruise got Top Gun. It's not like he organized, I'm going to go get Top Gun and then I'm going to become Tom Cruise. I just find it to be, also when I watch baseball sometimes and they talk about, yes, he put it on the outside of the plate right there by the end. I go, bullshit, no he didn't, he just threw the ball outside. They're talking about how he strategized this pitch down to the micro inch.
Like he used superpowers.
Yeah, like superpowers. No.
And also, I mean, Corbin got a major show. Well, it could have been somebody else.
Could have been.
And if it had been somebody else, Corbin would not have had many of the other experiences that he had immediately following that show.
Right.
And that's the same for all of us. And so much of what we do is that we turned left or happened to look left or sat down at a time. So much of what we do has to do with having been at the right time at the right place, and somebody went eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and what have you. And at first you think, well, I'm the only one who could have played this. Well, in point of fact, a lot of other people could have played it, and then they would have had that laser focus, that light that was on them for a short period of time.
Right.
You can be stupid about it. You could have something wonderful take place like that, and then you could blow your success by blowing it all up your nose, or be a drunk, or
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen. So you can, those things can happen, but by and large, nobody's really organizing it quite that way.
God, we sounded like a couple of cues.
Yeah. Okay, next.
We're running very short of time. If we can rapid fire these last
And
two,
I wanted to
sure
do
we
something
get
with
these.
the audience.
Of course.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Thank you. In your careers, not only have you worked with the bold and the beautiful, but also the young and the restless. I was wondering, is there any actor or actress in cinematic history that, even if they're no longer with us, that if you had the ability to work with, who is it and why?
Bob Denver. Gilligan. Just because he's a nut, he would have been a blast.
Oh, well,
That was a stupid answer, but
but a good answer.
I don't know. I'm still of the Basil Rathbone and Errol Flynn thing. I go, oh my
That's how to answer that question.
there you go.
Yeah.
Would have been fun to be in Shakespeare's theater.
Oh, well,
That's a whole thing. That's a different.
yeah. Right.
We're just born a little outside. Just a little outside.
Okay, this question is for Corbin.
Yeah.
I really loved you in Star Trek and the movie The Dentist.
Yeah.
This one I have to ask. If you had the opportunity to do The Dentist 3, would you do it?
No. Because we kind of wore it out in Dentist 2, but Brian Usna, who directed that, and I have come up and we have written a script called The Plastic Surgeon. And imagine a group of people who want to beautify themselves, and the same kind of character as in The Dentist, whose wife cheats on him. He finds a reason to go in one day and say, oh, you want boobs? How about these? He leaves a lady on liposuction in the office overnight. So we're gonna go, I think the plastic surgeon is where we're gonna go. We're gonna kind of play on people's vanities.
Don't hold your breath.
Nothing like ending a Q&A on
Exactly.
sadistic and demented.
Thank you, and nice sneakers, Corbin.
What?
Nice sneakers.
What's the other thing?
Thanks.
You know, John, you had
nice
something.
sneakers.
Nice sneakers. Yeah.
Yeah.
John, you had something you wanted to do. Yeah, I think. Yeah,
A friend of mine asked me to do something, and I was wondering if you wouldn't mind helping me to do it.
Okay.
He is asking his fans. He says, it's for a show in a year or so from now, and he's asking his fans, who do you think is the most, omnipotent and stuff like that? And he said, John, I'd like you to be involved, but I'm going to ask the question, and could you do something which would be where you come into frame and say, Q. And I said, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, of course. And then I thought, oh, you know what, I'm going to be with all of you. Maybe if you were asked the question, who's the most omnipotent, and you all went, Q, we could shoot it so that we have all of you in frame, and then come slide over to me and I go, Q, so that's the reveal. Is that something that you would help me with?
All right, here's what we're going to do. If we can get this side of you here from the aisle, go ahead and get up if you can get up, and otherwise just...
Well, I need to get all of you into, as you know, even if some of you are up on your chairs or what have you, I need to get a very
You know what we could do? You see
We
this
have to go down here,
John,
right?
you see this space over here? We can corral everybody over here because we got enough room to put everybody in. Does that work?
We're making movies together.
Yeah, we're gonna. All right, everybody. So we're gonna truck right over here. All of you. We're gonna trek right over.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. See? We used up all the soap operas. While we're doing this, if your hands are free, can I get a round of applause for our sign language interpreter, please? Maybe another round of applause for our crew as we keep making our way over here to help John out.
Let's get on to do the sideways.
Stand up on the chair.
On my shoulders. Just past you here, and I'm gonna go this way actually. Umpire? Picture? Sure. Umpire? Okay.
Yeah, over here, if we can get more people up on the chairs. If you can get up there. Yep.
So that's what you see what I'm doing. I'm handing over here. And then you turn into it. And then give me a little bit. So.
I need a cameraman. I mean, a light.
This is the shot, right?
I got it. Yeah. You'll just follow it. Make sure it's on the end. Yes.
So this is the shot. Like that. I'll be right over here. And when I get here, I'll feel it. And then when you guys, when you can see he's on me, you stop. Okay? And then I'll go. Okay. Okay.
I'm nervous. So make sure that light's on him, though. Yeah.
Okay.
I was just trying to turn around and see the light.
All right.
Ready? Wait, what were you? Okay, so start with the cue, Bowie. Shadow because of that. Put the light on him over that way. This is now you want to know it better. That's okay. Now really. Okay. This is exactly what we go through. All right. You guys start going. It's a little slow, but it's all right. I'll do a little faster. Okay, great. I'm just having a hard time knowing when you are. Take three. All right. Ready? Action. Cue. Action.
Everybody, real quick, while I've got you, somebody left their white HTC phone on their chair. Anybody missing their HTC phone? I think it's you? This?
Yeah, so it's not so also you don't have as much of this. One more.
All right, one more. One more and we're good.
Last one. Here we go. Ready?
Perfectionist director.
Give me some eye, so I like that when he's turned around because I don't know. Okay, here we go. Okay. Action.
Good? All right. You lost your phone. I think I have it. It's you? Excellent. Hey, one more time. Let's have a round of applause for John Lancie and Corbin, everybody. See y'all. Now you can exit toward the doors in the back. And if you're hanging around for the cosplay contest, they'll guide you back through. If you're a VIP, of course you can keep your seats because VIPs are VIPs. Thanks so much, everyone.